Okay, welcome to our training tonight. My name is Alvin Kerr. Again, thank you for being on the call with me tonight. This is our Thursday night training. This is December the 29th. It is 2022. Now, as we are preparing to go into 2023, I want to go somewhere a little bit here in preparation for that. Growing up, I remember as a young child, people would always do what they call New Year resolutions. And during that time, I never saw anyone fulfill their New Year resolution. Now, I'm not saying no one did. I'm just saying the people that I saw was talking to boulders about they had a New Year resolution. They were going to do this in the new year. They were going to do that in the new year. No one fulfilled that resolution. Then, of course, as I got in business some 36 years ago, I started hearing people talk about setting and hitting goals. And I saw many people talk about setting goals, and very few people were worked long enough and disciplined enough and hard enough to hit those goals. So over the years, what I have come to do, and stuff is I've come to go into prayer time, and I go into asking God, what does he want from me in the I think the new year is a good time to start something new, because really you can start anytime you get ready. So it's nothing other magical, there's nothing other so spiritual about it just being the first of the year. You can start anytime you get ready, I believe, at least. And so I'm not going to say that I think that you have to do it at the first of the year. But I do think it is a time when people are considering that we change it into a new year. It is time to look at trying to break old habits and start something new. And so I think that what I do is I ask God, I says, I want revelation, God. I want not a resolution. I want revelation of what you want from me to do. And I believe that with all of my heart, God has blessed me and called me into this business. Sometimes I talk to people, and over the years, I've been in this business here now, all these years, I've had many bishops and apostles and various people in ministry tell me, Alvin, you sound like a preacher. We need to ordain you. You need to quit running around here. But I'm not a preacher. But what I am is I do believe that my econ is ministry. And so I do believe when I'm talking here, I am ministering to people. I don't believe that that makes me a pastor. I don't believe that that makes me a bishop. I don't believe that that makes me an apostle. I don't believe that that makes me anything in the fivefold ministry. I believe that those are people that are called to that office to do those things. So I want to be very clear. Alvin don't think of himself that way. And I have resisted the temptation of saying, yes, I'm just going to jump in there because somebody tell me that. I was talking one day to a guy, and he told me, this multiple times, but I just kind of, this one guy really come to my mind. He was selling me shoes, and he was talking about he was a minister, a pastor, at least they said. And so I asked him, well, a few things about that. And he began to tell me, he said, well, people just told me all the time I looked like I was a preacher. So I just said I'll just be a preacher. Well, I really don't think that that's what you ought to do. I don't really think you ought to just say what people say, I'm a preacher. I believe you ought to hear from the Lord what he wants from you. So in our business, I believe that we ought to also hear from the Lord what he wants from us also here. And so what I've done, and I've been praying over these last few weeks here now that we are toward the end of this year, getting ready to go into 2023, and saying, God, what do you want from me? Now, I have some ideas about what God wants from me. I'm not going to go all the way into that tonight. This is going to be a two-part series that we're going to talk about. But what we are going to talk about tonight is we are going to talk about goal setting. Now, again, this is based on, of course, something that I read when I first got in business. One of the first books I read when I got in business back in the around 87 was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I recommend, if you have not read that book, that you go read that book. At the very least, get you a audio copy of the book and listen to it. I generally read that book on a fairly regular basis, except I don't read as much as I once did, but back in the day, I used to read that book all the time. Another great book to read is How to Win Friends and Influence People. And probably one of my favorite books that I read is Who Moved My Cheese. Those are some great, great books that will change how you think and all of that, and stuff. And so we have to think about that, because I was talking with my buddy Dexter here the other day, and I didn't really tell him in these terms, but that really is the deal. Our cheese got moved. We were going, we moved the cheese 30 years ago when we got started in business, but today we're kind of set in a way, and now we got 30-year-olds that have moved the cheese again. And so we have to look at that. We have to believe that and start understanding that things will happen. So I want to talk to you about Napoleon Hill's 6 steps to goal setting. This again is from the book Think and Grow Rich tonight. And again, my name is Alvin Curry. This is, since we're getting ready to go into 2023, I want you to think in terms of right now. You're thinking about where you're going to go in 2023. I am not a pastor or anything like that, but I have studied and love studying the word, and I have applied the word of God to these 6 steps I've had done. So this is Alvin's part added to Napoleon Hill. So what you see in red is what Alvin came up with from the Bible, and what you see here, the first step, and all other subsequent steps are in black. Those are Napoleon Hill's. Where there is no vision, the people who have no vision, the ability to see where they are and see where they want to go, they perish. Where there is no vision. So the first step to setting a goal is fixing your mind an exact amount of money you desire. So when I first read this, I fixed in my mind, I wanted to be a millionaire. First step is I wanted to make $1 million. Then I wanted to get to making $1 million a year. So I said, okay, when do I get to make this $1 million? How do I get this done? And so I set that in my mind, an exact amount. I knew I wanted to be a millionaire. So I'm asking you, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm asking you to fix in your mind an exact amount of money you desire. It is not sufficient merely to say, I want plenty of money. I want be definite amount, because I'm from Mississippi. I live in Georgia. Plenty could mean one thing to me, but if we go to, let's say, Texas, plenty could mean a different thing. Texas, big old huge state down here, it could mean something else to someone in Texas. Well, if we go to South Carolina, we could mean something else when we go to South Carolina. So it's not really good enough to just say, I want plenty of money. I want a heap of money. I want a pile of money. When I go out west to California, surely, it means something different there. I was in Washington State. I know it means something different. See, the word plenty, the word a lot, a heap, a bigger, I just want to get rich. I just want to be wealthy. All those things can mean something different. So you need a definite destination. Remember, I give this example all the time. I said, if I'm driving somewhere, I put in a definite end and destination. I put in my GPS, the end and destination. I don't just put somewhere. I said, where am I going? What address am I going to? And I put that address in there. Then I follow the GPS. So I want you to understand, if you want $1 million, say, I want $1 million. If you say, I want $10 million, I want $10 million. If it's $100 million or $1 billion, be definite in the amount. You got to be definite, okay? Let's move on. Step 2 here, okay? The Bible is very clear here in Matthew 12:37. For by your words, you will be justified. What you say, and by your words, you will be condemned. See, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. I've been talking to you now for months, trying to get you to establish with your words, I'm 1 in a million. I've been trying to get you to establish that, to believe that, because by your words, you're justified. And some of you can't even type that in the chat. You are in such disbelief, you can't type it in the chat yet. But that's okay. That's okay. I don't want you to get off the call if you're not there right now. I want you to stay on the call with me. I want you to get on these calls with me every week, because after next week, we're gonna continue this to January the 6th, the promotion. But after that, we're gonna be doing these calls every Thursday night. Get on the call with me. If you just stay on here with me, you will eventually get enough filled up. You'll get enough belief that you'll be able to write down a 1 in a million. And then one day, you'll be able to walk up to some of them non-believing friends and family you got, and who thought you weren't gonna be nothing. And you'll be able to look them in their face and say, I am 1 in a million. I am a millionaire. See, by your words, you're justified. So here's the thing. You must establish a definite date when you intend to possess the money you desire. So again, let's go back to step 1. If you said it's $1 million, when I said that, I said 7 years. And I had drawn this out in my mind when I drew this plan up. I would be 40 years old in that 7 years. That was going to take me from where I was at the time to when I was going to be 40 years old. And so I knew for a fact that was a definite date. So if you say, I am 59, I'm trying to get this done by the time I'm 60. Well, 60, you know when you're going to be 60, that's a definite date. You don't have to say January the 1st of 2029 or January the 1st of 2039. You can say, if you set an age, well, you know that's a definite date, what your age is, whatever you want to do. So I used my age. By my 40th birthday was what I wanted to do. But you need to pick a date. There's nothing wrong with picking a definite date. There's nothing wrong with saying January 1st, 2033. That's 10 years from this January. Be a millionaire. But you got to pick a definite date. You got to pick a definite amount and a definite date. See, by your words, you're justified. But you're also, by your words, you are condemned. And so I want you to get that into your spirit. Start speaking in your spirit. Let's go to step 3. Step 3, we go to Galatians chapter 6 and verse 7. Alvin Curry, do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever Alvin Curry sow, that he shall also reap. Okay, determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. There is no such reality as something for nothing. I'm amazed at how many people I meet in networking over the years who told me they don't like networking because they got in networking and somebody told them if they could just get 2 people, one on the left and one on the right, they were going to be rich. If they could just go out and get, 3 or 4 people, they were going to blow up. They had a 4x4. They were going to blow up and you were going to get rich. Everybody going to get 4. In a perfect world, yes. But the world ain't perfect. And you don't know perfect people. So as a result of that, they didn't have the things happen that they wanted to happen. And so they blame networking because they didn't understand. Now, I want you to understand something very clearly. Before you ever came to networking, before you ever came to my econ, I want to be clear. I don't know, I'm sure networking is the same thing, but I want to be very clear. Before you came to my econ, you only had 24 hours in a day. You only had 7 days in a week. You only had 12 months in a year. That's all you had. And however many years God give you on the earth, that's what you have. But in the 24 hours a day that you have, God given you and I both know that from the time you wake up in the morning, so let's say that you wake up in the morning around 6 o'clock in the morning, and then you go to work and you got to drive an hour. And if you're in Atlanta, that may be 2 hours getting to work. You get to work, you work 8 to 10 hours a day. You get off, you drive an hour back home. So between the time you go to work, get up in the morning, getting prepared to go to work, and get back home, that generally is going to take 12 hours of most people's day, at least. Then when you think about, okay, I come home, I got to do a few things with my children, my house, my husband, my wife, or whatever. That may take you another couple of hours of preparing dinner, doing whatever it is. Now we at somewhere around 8 to 9 o'clock at night. And then if you sit down and watch a couple of hours of TV, It's going to put you somewhere between 10 and 11 o'clock. Then you're going to have to go to bed because you're going to have to get up and do it all over tomorrow. Well, see, your day before you ever got to my econ was already filled. See, there's no such reality as something for nothing. If you intend to do anything in my econ, before you can add my econ to your already filled box, you must determine what are you going to take out. See, okay, since your box is already filled for 24 hours, 7 days a week, you already have things you're doing. What are you going to take out? So let me give you an example. When I started in business, I was working overtime on my job as much as I possibly could. I was in school when I first met I, but that ended pretty quickly. So that was going to end in a way I was finished. That December I met him, that was the December I got finished. So I didn't have that wasn't a problem. But working overtime, I was a person at that time, I used to drink and I used to go to happy hour, spend time there. I used to watch a lot of TV, watch the news. I needed to know what was going on. So before I go to bed at night, I would watch the news. Wake up in the morning, watch the news before I go to work. And go to work. That was my day. And I had a wife and 2 children. And I spent what time I could with them after I got off working from my left happy hour till they went to bed. That was my day. When I got in business, I determined to quit going to happy hour at all. I took all of my time I was going to happy hour. I took that out. I quit working overtime. I gave up overtime. I gave up going to happy hour. Why? Because I got in business and I needed to go out and be working from 6 o'clock every day till 12 o'clock at night. I needed to be working. That's what I got taught. So now I had to give up everything that went on from 5 o'clock in the evening to 12 o'clock at night. I had to give that up. So that meant I had to give up some time with my children. That meant I had to give up some time with my wife. That means I had to give up all the watching TV. I gave up all of the sports. I gave up going to happy hour. I gave up working overtime. What do you intend to pay? So you can't make your reality what mine was or is. But you got to look at your life and say, what am I going to give? I know your life is full. I absolutely already know that you have 24 hours. And before I met you, you was already doing it. But you can't decide, I'm gonna work 10 hours more I'm gonna work 10 hours a week in my econ. And I'm not gonna take 10 hours from somewhere else. And it can't be sleep, because you need sleep. But I determined everything that I was doing from 5 o'clock in the evening to at least midnight at night, that had to come out so I could put something else in. Then I started putting in there, going out every night working. I was doing, we was going to people's home doing appointments. I was going out every night trying. I put in there reading and studying my word. I put in there reading and studying something on the business. I put that into that because I had to learn something. What I intend to give, I gave up all of the stuff that I was previously doing. I took all that out of the box that I was doing from 5 to 12. And sometimes 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, depending on if we ran late. But then I filled that up with things related to the business. I filled it up with reading and studying my Bible. I filled it up with reading and studying about the business. I filled it up by going out doing appointments every day. I filled it up. We would get out of the appointments, Alvin and I and other team members. We would meet every night at 10 o'clock. At a Denny's restaurant right near our office. And we would sit down and do what we call the meeting after the meeting. But the meeting after the meeting wasn't just there to talk about nothing. We talked about how did it go that day. We was holding each other accountable. Did we have success at our 2 appointments? What kind of success we had? What do we need to know? This is how I learned the business. You must understand, do not be deceived. You join the business and think, I ain't got to do nothing. I'm just going to get rich. They over here getting rich, so I'm just going to jump over here and get rich. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. If you don't put nothing in, you won't be getting nothing out. Okay? I saw people that didn't put anything in, and I saw people that didn't get anything out. So let's go to the fourth step now. Isaiah 54, verse 2 through 3. Enlarge the place of your tent, Alvin. Let them stretch out the curtains of your dwelling, Alvin. Do not spare, Alvin. Lengthen your cord and strengthen your stakes. Now, if you ever put up a tent, not one of the little pop-up tents, and stuff, but if you ever had like a really big tent you put up and you got to use all these poles to put up in all these here, and then you got to put the stake down in the ground and take the cords and tie it all off, and that, man, that's putting up a tent. That's the tent they talk about. Now, I got a little pop-up tent. You ain't got to do nothing. That thing just kind of already, just everything is in place. Just pull it out, stretch it out, two people, pop the little thing up, it pops up in seconds, and tear down in seconds. But some of you who was in the military, man, you had them big old huge tents you had to put up. Even if the wind was blowing, you still had to put them babies up. You had to dry the stakes deep.
He's preaching.
And then you had to dry the stakes deep, because when you dry the stakes
deep.
Write
down your goals.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. When you come on the call and you're unmuted, we hear everything you're saying. And I know you didn't mean to, but you just did interrupt the call. Okay. So, strengthen your stakes. Well, you should expand on the right and on the left. And then your children, your descendants, will inherit the nation. So, create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once, whether you're ready or not. Put this plan into action. See, understand, we're going to be working on this for 2 weeks. I'm trying to get you to understand what you got to do. So when we go into 2022, 2023, we don't fool ourselves. See, I'm talking to you now about what I did, not what I think. I'm talking to you about what it's going to take for you to win in your life. If you want to win, this time you will not lose. But you got to understand, you must understand, you got to do something. You got to enlarge the place of your tent. Yes, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. And you have to make this tough decision. But now, if you want to be one in a million, then you're going to have to understand what millionaire people do. And whatever plan you choose to get there, you have to choose one that people do to get there. Okay, let me give you an example. When I was a kid, growing up in Mississippi, I thought that I wanted to be a millionaire. The only person I ever heard of at that time in the African-American community that made $1 million was Wilt Chamberlain. I heard, I don't know if he did or didn't, but back then, I heard Wilt made $1 million playing basketball. And I was amazed because I was there watching the games when Bill Russell beat him year in and year out, and everybody else, for those 11 championships that the Boston Celtics won, and the Lakers didn't win any during that time. And I thought, wow, he made $1 million. No one ever said Russell made $1 million. So I thought, well, I want to play a basketball player so I can make millions of dollars. Well, it didn't work out. I was not good. I got cut from the bench. So I didn't know what else I was supposed to do. But I'm telling you right now, you are on the phone with a multimillionaire who will teach you how to create a definite plan. We're going to work on a definite plan next week. We won't get into all of it because it's too long to do it all at one time. But we're going to walk you in through this. And then after we get through this promotion, we're going to start with teaching you all the income shifting stuff. We're going to start with the W-4 and all those things at that time. We're not forgetting, but we're trying to get you to understand. So if you say, I want to create a definite plan, you can do that through our income shifting membership. If you were on the calls with me a couple of times back, I showed you how to go in and set that up through your cash flow manager, cash flow strategy, I'm sorry. And then in 15 years from a strategy operation, I showed a person could make $1 million I can become a millionaire at least. I can become a millionaire, not make $1 million. And the person never made more than $100 a month in business. But that's a discipline. So if that's the strategy you're going to, that's the definite plan you're going to use, the income shifting membership plan, then you have to start that and you have to get ready and begin at once with that plan. So let's go to the next step. We're going to step 5 now. Step 5. Then the Lord, Habakkuk 2:2. Then the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain on a tablet, that he may run who readeth it. Now, my wife and I have been married now for 44 years. And when I wrote my plan, she was there. And so she knows our plan. She knows the vision we have for our lives and for our company. She knows all these things. So she is in line with what we have for our company right now. So we write the vision and we make it plain. So we put that on a tablet. So he who readeth it may run to the vision. So step 5 says, write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire. Name the time limit for its acquisition. State exactly what you intend to give for the money, and clearly describe the plan for which you intend to use to accomplish it. So this is what you must do. That statement gonna look something like this. I, Alvin Curry, have decided to be a millionaire by X date. So that's my definite dollar amount. My date I'm gonna do. Now, what I intend to give, I'm gonna give up this. I'm willing to pay this price. And now, what am I going to do? Well, if you're going to build your plan through whatever mechanism you're gonna build it through, if that's going to be, again, income shifted, you need to write that out. I'm going to do it through income shifted, and you need to give yourself a reasonable amount of time. If you're going to do it through leveraging residual income, and you're going to build a team, you need to describe how that team is going to look and what it's going to take. See, if you're going to build a team that make yourself $10,000 a month, you need X amount of people on your team. If you want to make a team that makes $25,000 a month, you need X amount of people on your team. You need to write all that into your plan. So the Lord answered me and said, write the vision. Make it plain so Carlos can read it, Alvin, because she don't know everything you know. Make that plain. So now when I'm working, when I took away all that time from my family, she had to understand why and what that was going to lead to. So my children, I can explain it to them. All my children are grown now. And I've asked my children since they've been grown, I've asked them, I said, let me ask you something. We didn't do everything that everybody else did growing up. We didn't do everything that the cousins did. We didn't go to every family reunion. We didn't do all the summer vacation. We didn't do a lot of things other folk did. But here's what we did. I said, now, would you rather dad had stayed on the job and worked and be like everybody else, or would you rather dad did what he did here? And then all of them said, oh yeah, dad, we're happy you did this. We're happy. My wife's happy. Even my grown children are happy because dad had changed the whole lineages of the Curry family. See, I want you to be very careful before you start just saying, I'm gonna take Alvin Curry words. See, because Alvin Curry words can't motivate you when it get hard. Alvin Curry words can only motivate Alvin Curry. Alvin Curry dreams, Alvin Curry desires. This is why I said when I started early, pray. If you're a believer in prayer, pray and ask God to give you revelation of what you need to do. And then that's what you go do. Write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire. $1 million. Name is time for acquisition. By the time I'm 40. State what you intend to give. What you're going to give up. What are you going to, because you got to give something up. You cannot do everything you're doing now. I know people, they join this business. They go take on some extra stuff. They take on more duties down at the church. They take on more duties in volunteering in the community because they have assumed that this ain't really real. Well, that's up to them if they want to do it. But I'm not that person. I'm not that person. I'm not telling you what to give up. I had children who was active in sports. I had to go to their games. I had to still be a father. I couldn't give all that up because I was still a father. And my children were pretty decent athletes. And I wanted to be in their lives. I was a husband. And I needed to be in my wife's life. But I didn't need to be in their lives that when I was at hanging out, drinking. I didn't need to sit around and watch all the sports everybody else was watching and have me male dominated, just hanging around watching sports all day. I didn't need that. So the time that I had, I spent that time with working that job for the first 18 months. And then it got to a point I needed more time. So I had to give the job up. And I went full time. But now, when I went full time, that didn't mean I had more time to play around. I spent 12 to 16 hours a day working the business in the early days of full time. And in the early days, I couldn't give my wife more time. It looked unbalanced, but it was all for our family. Today, we have options to do whatever we choose to do because we paid the price early on. Write the vision. Make it plain. Now, those are the easy steps. Those are very easy compared to step 6 in the final step. Step 6, turn desires into goal in 2023. Habakkuk 2 and verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and it will not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. See, here it is. You got a written statement. And so what you got to do is you got to put that baby somewhere so you can read it the first thing in the morning before you go out of the house. Then you got to read it at night before you lie down and go to sleep, because you got to keep that in your mind. So what I was very blessed to do, I was in Washington State at the time. They had a store there called Fred Meyer's. I don't know if the store is even still in business or not. I don't know what it is, but it was there at the time. And I went in Fred Meyer's, and they used to have these little posters about 24 inches, two feet wide and 36, I think it was. I went in there and I saw a little old poster of, it said, "My First Million." And it was dollar bills, stacked up, $100 bills, stacked up on the floor in smoke. And across top it said, "My First Million." I bought that picture. I said, this is for me. I got it framed and I took it home and I hung it on the wall in my office. And then on there, I said, okay, first year, I'm gonna do this. Second year, I'm gonna do this. Third year, I'm gonna do this. Fourth year, fifth year, sixth year, seventh year, I'm gonna do this. And by the time I reach the 7th year will be where I would have made my first $1 million in business. And boy, I would get up in the morning and I would read that thing. I would be hollering at myself. And I would go to bed at night and I'd be hollering at myself, reading it. And I was so far behind on that thing in the first couple of years, I stopped reading for a while. I just couldn't face it. I was like, this ain't doing it. And then when I stopped reading it, it got worse. I got worse and worse and worse and worse. So I said, let me start back to reading. Let me start back to reading. I go back and I start back to reading. And I get a little movement. Boy, I got nervous and scared. I quit reading it again. So somewhere around about the third year, I had worked through all of my fears. And I started reading that baby like I was supposed to, twice a day. Even when I didn't hit my goals, I still read it. I still confessed. The Bible says, call things that are not as though they be. I kept speaking. I kept speaking. I kept speaking. I kept speaking. And boy, that thing started picking up steam. Around about that fourth year, I just, boom, my income exploded. That fifth year, sixth year, and that seventh year, my income exploded. We had hit a monster of a business. And in 30 months, Alvin and I made $3.6 million in a business we was in 30 months. Those were the last 3 years of that deal. I blew it all the way out. The vision spoke. It came to life. It came to life. Now, I kept going and I kept fighting. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have to read that. It will be hard for you to read it. And in the early days, it may not happen. But look at this note here. It says it's important for you to follow the instructions described in these 6 steps. It is especially important that you observe and follow the instructions in step 6. You must follow step 6, read that thing. I'm telling you, I know that's the hardest one. See, it's easy to write something on a piece of paper. It's easy to say, yeah, we'll do this. But life gonna come at you. Life is gonna throw all kind of things at you. I don't have time tonight to get into all the kind of things life threw at me. Life threw a lot of stuff at me. Life threw stuff at Alvin. But we did not budge. We did not give 1 inch. We put no slack in the rope. And the vision spoke to Alvin Curry. It came alive. And it did what we had written down and what we had put on there. You better make sure you ask God what you're supposed to do, not ask Alvin. Now, if you want me to help you, once you know what you're trying to do, I'll mentor that and give you a little heads up knowledge on what you need to be doing so you can kind of put it into a writing. But I won't do it for you. I won't do it for you because I won't be responsible for you saying you're going to do something you ain't going to do. If you ain't going to do it, then don't do it. That's okay with me. But if you want to be 1 in a million, if you believe yourself to be 1 in a million, put that in the chat 2 or 3 times a night before you get off here. And then I'm going to post this to A. Curry Training this weekend. You can go get this and pull it down and start working on read and visit. Or you can simply go buy the book, Think and Grow Rich. And all of these steps, these 6 steps, is exactly from the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. You don't have to use my biblical scriptures. You can use whatever you want to use. There is no reason for you to say, I got to use the scriptures I haven't used. Whatever the Lord tells you to use, you can use those. But let me be very clear to you, if I can be very clear to you. You and the Lord get together. You and the Lord come up with the plan. And then you write that plan out. And if it's a God idea, it cannot fail. If it's just your idea, I don't know if it can succeed or not. But I know if God give you a plan, he's going to make it come to pass. See, if he told you 7 years, it'll come to pass in 7 years. But now don't you just decide 7 years because I haven't said 7 years. If he tell you 15 years, 20 years, or whatever it is, whatever he tell you, you got to make sure he told you what it is. And you do what he told you, and then he will make that happen for you. Write the vision. Make it plain. Put it on a tablet. So you and whoever you live with can run to the vision. So you got to tell yourself, I got to win. I got to win this time. I ain't got no more back doors. I ain't got no more time to wait. I got to win. This is about you turning natural human desires for money into a goal to reach goal in your life. Turn your desires into gold, which is money. See, because sometimes you start to get tell people, they say, now, I want to be the Lord to bless me, and they give you a lot of really general ideas. When they're talking general, I want you to be very specific. If you want to be one in a million, then you need to take these steps and create a game plan of how you're going to be one in a million. So I've been talking to you now for months about putting it in the chat. I'm one in a million, I'm one in a million, I'm one in a million. And a lot of you have gone out there and put it in the chat. I'm one in a million. Thank you for that. But now it's time. It is time now for us to create a game plan. And we need to create that game plan in the next week to 10 days of what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. And we need to go hit the ground running. This ain't no New Year resolution. It's just a way to measure time and to keep score. And then we're going to go back and revisit, once you got this plan in place, how to put this in your cash flow manager. We're going to revisit how to make all this PCP, cash flow manager, all these things tie together and work together for you. So many of you on this call tonight are brand new. And you said, what is this? I joined for credit repair. I know you did. And I want you to understand something. We're going to help you. You can already be doing credit repair. We're going to help you with that. We want you to be and get your credit straight. We want you to do that. We believe that that is something everybody ought to enjoy. It's good credit. But my econ is much more than just credit. It's about fixing your entire life. And so where you joined me at tonight was you joined me on the 29th of December, and we're now teaching and training on going into 2023, setting goals and how to accomplish those goals. So tonight and next Thursday night will be a continuation of this on next Thursday night. What I'm going to do next Thursday night is I'm going to put a little bit of an example in here and show you a little bit more about this next Thursday night. So it'll be, if you will, like part 2 of this. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being on the call tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the recording off, but we'll hang around and do Q&A. If you have questions for me tonight, we have a few minutes. We'll go ahead and do Q&A. But if you feel like you got what you need and you don't have any questions, you don't want to hear the questions people ask, you can hang up and do what you got to do. But if you hang around, even if you don't have a question, someone may ask one that you really didn't know you had, and it'll help you. So God bless you tonight. If you're not going to hang around, this is probably going to be the last time I get a chance to talk to many of you. Again, I'm not talking about a happy new year. I'm saying let's go have a prosperous new year. Let's go have the best new year that we've ever had in prosperity way. See, we're here to talk about prosperity. We're not shying away from it. We are talking about physical prosperity in 2023. You have a great weekend, great night, be safe, but be for sure to look out for this at A Curry Training on the right-hand side where I have the documents at. I'll have this posted and you can print it down and you can use it for your own, or you can simply buy the book, Think and Grow Rich. These 6 steps is in the first 30, 40 pages of the book. It comes to this pretty quickly in the book, and they give you this 6 steps. All I did is copy that word for word and then I put the scriptures word for word from the Bible. So you can do what you need to do. Thank you for being on the call. All right.